right, my next guest, I'm sure you all know. My next guest is the host of the McLaughlin Report, which is seen weekly on public television stations and the NBC stations in New York, Los Angeles, and Washington. Would you welcome, please, John McLaughlin. Good to see you. I referred to you earlier, I don't know whether you saw the opening monologue, as really the kind of the referee of the show you do.
Yes, I heard that disrespectful term.
Yeah. Done with the greatest respect. It is, you are like a referee. You've got these marvelous people. How are the shows going, by the way? I'm a fan.
Well, I have 3 shows. I have a program called One-on-One, which is a straight interview show. Last week I interviewed Jay Rockefeller, who told me he has the bug, the presidential bug.
We'll get into that.
Deep in his stomach. So that means he's either running or he's going to have to take kaopectate.
Yeah.
Then I have another show. Go ahead.
You have this thing on CNBC.
I have a CNBC show where I throw the net a little wider, and I have performing artists talking about matters of some substance to themselves. For example, Susan Anton, she did a program.
You did a thing on the whole Cheers cast.
That's right. I was able to salute the 200th anniversary with the cast, and they're funnier off stage than they are on stage.
Let me ask you a question. When Jay Rockefeller says he has got the itch to run, do you believe politicians? I remember sitting here with then Governor Reagan about 3 days before he announced, and everybody in the world knew he was going to announce. And I said, Governor, is there anything you want to share with us before you leave here tonight? He'd say, well, no, I really haven't made up my mind. And you knew he'd made up his mind. So when politicians tell you something, how do you know whether they're really telling you the truth or just kind of feeling you out?
I think it depends on the case, but with Jay Rockefeller, he's quite straightforward, quite honest, and I do think he's probably going to make the run. He's got some hurdles. He went to Iowa, and he came back with some good news that he has 100% name identification.
Yeah.
However, there is bad news. The bad news is that 1/3 of the people think that he's the banker who foreclosed on the farm. 1/3 of the people think he's the one who runs the oil company that jacked up the cost of gasoline. And 1/3 of the people feel that he's the person who sold Manhattan to the Japanese. And that's his joke, because he's got an enormous amount of wealth.
Yeah.
He's got a home as well.
But Nelson Rockefeller tried it, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of money.
Yeah, well, the point is that if you've got a lot of wealth, people sometimes think that you can't identify with them.
Right.
I think he does, and I think that despite the fact that, he's got a $15 million home, 11 bathrooms, the press reportedly are not able to get in there, but I quizzed him on this, and I held his head underwater, and he acknowledged that he's not a poor man.
Yes.
He's got about anywhere from $100 to $500 million. He's got an issue. The issue is a good issue, but it's very hard to translate into understandable terms because it's so complex. It's obdurately complex. It's health insurance. 35 million Americans don't have health insurance.
True.
So how do you get that into a slogan of some kind?
You don't really see anybody.
But I think he's going to run.
You don't see anybody beating the incumbent, do you? Really? None with the way things are right now.
None unless there's something catastrophic.
Yeah.
Like the economy goes into some kind of terrible tailspin, and I think George Bush is probably invincible.
Yeah. What's the big talk in Washington right now?
The big talk is the fact that things have become quite partisan. Yeah. The president today launched an all-out broadside against the Democrats for their inertia, particularly on 2 domestic policies that he has in mind. One is transportation, and another policy that he's very concerned about. And they're not doing anything about it. And the politicians on the Hill are saying, the Democrats are saying, that he's just doing this for political mileage, that he has no right to set deadlines for them. So it's kind of a bitter atmosphere right now.
Yeah.
And a little demoralized. A lot of gridlock on Capitol Hill.
Are you ever unhappy with the fact when you ran, I think it was, 1970?
That's right.
For a Senate seat from Rhode Island? Right. That you weren't elected, and do you think you'd have been a good politician?
Well,
do you think you have to compromise when you're a politician, obviously, somewhere along the line. You can't be all things to all people.
That's right.
And that doesn't sit well with a lot of people.
That's right.
Could you have done something like that?
I think I would have enjoyed it. I'm happy the way things turned out. I've had a lot of different experiences. It was a good race, learned a lot. I think running for elective office is probably one of the most rewarding experiences one can have.
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it greatly. There's a lot of talk about you in Washington also.
Oh, give me a break.
Johnny, the politicians are all saying we won't have Johnny to kick us around anymore.
Well, that's what we're here for. That's our job.
I mean, you're clearly you're an institution. You're like Broadway or baseball. You're like the U.S. Congress. Oh, I really shouldn't say that about anybody.
Please, you were doing so well until you got there.
Yeah.
We have to just take one break here. We'll take one break, but we're coming right back. Stay where you are. We're back talking with John McLaughlin. Let me talk. I want to talk about the people you do battle with, or you referee on your show, and kind of give me a little capsule comment on each one of the people. Pat Buchanan.
Well, and they all wish they were here, by the way, but they're all doing different assignments.
Are they all friends of yours? When I say friends, I mean close friends?
Yeah, we're the kind of friends that, prize fighters are when they're shaking hands before they start a fight. Right. But we get along very well.
So give me a little comment on Pat Buchanan.
Well, Pat Buchanan would be here, except he's off giving a lecture tonight to the friendly sons of the Spanish Inquisition. Pat is, he's a columnist. He was a speechwriter for Richard Nixon.
Pat's just a little to the right of Attila the Hun, isn't he? Right in.
He's pretty far right, but he turns out to be something of a broken field runner. For example, he was strongly opposed to the Persian Gulf War. Didn't like that idea at all. Pat's a very great reader. He's the best historian we have in the group. He's the Beatle of the group, meaning that he's the teacher's pet.
Right.
And he gets to answer everything first. The next person around the circle is Fred Barnes.
All right, what about Barnes?
He's the would-be Beatle. He'd like to be Beatle, and he keeps butting in, trying to assert himself. He's the perfect yuppie. And sometimes I feel like giving him a surgical anti-whining implant.
Morton.
He's an excellent reporter, however.
Yes, he is.
Fred is. He does a great deal of legwork. He's one of the best reporters in Washington.
How about Morton Kondracki?
Morton Kondracki is he's the nerd of the little group. Morton is a pilgrim in search of the truth, and he's the nearest thing that we have to an internationalist on the program. Then we have Jack Jaman. Jack Jaman is kind of the fat kid that everyone would like to laugh at, but they don't dare because he knows too much. He seems to have lived life already, but he presents this aura of being sagacious, and he is wise, but he's also extremely liberal.
I always feel Jack should be sitting by the Cracker Barrel somewhere in front of a general store, because after you guys explore everything, he kind of sits and looks at you and says, "Why are we discussing that on this show?" He says, the fact is, and he winds it up with one sentence, and that's it.
Well, anything that doesn't have to do with Hialeah or with the racetrack or with politics, he gets a little bored with.
And you have Eleanor Clift.
Eleanor Clift, who is a fine reporter for Newsweek magazine. She's very liberal. In fact, she wanted to be here tonight, too, to say hello to you and congratulate you on entering your 30th year, but she went to New York in protest of the parade there. She wanted to throw herself in front of the Schwarzkopf motorcade. Eleanor's sharp. She has a terrific capacity to hone a phrase.
Right.
So that's the group, and we're doing well. We're in 300 PBS markets, as you point out. Washingtonian Magazine awarded us the best political talk show. The readers did for the 4th year in a row. We're #1 in the top 20 markets. Yeah. Which I guess shows that H.L. Mencken was right. You'll never go broke underestimating the taste of the American people.
Do you find sometimes, do you think that people, I've asked Brinkley, this is a good friend of mine, and some of the other people who are based in Washington, but you're so close to the Washington goings-on that sometimes you lose touch. It all becomes East-oriented, and you're almost unaware that there's a vast country in between.
I think there's a lot
there is a great deal of criticism.
That's why I like to come out here, and that's why I like to do some lecturing, because it gets you out. For example, we're very preoccupied now in Washington with the state of the Soviet-U.S. relationship. But a lot of people in this country have become a little bit bored by that.
Right.
We've spent so much time out. Now they're thinking about health insurance and education and crime and drugs. And what condition are we in relation to the other two poles of power, economic power in the world? Germany and Japan, and the satellites underneath Germany, underneath Japan. The world is dividing itself into 3 spheres of economic power. Well, and how are we going to manage through the 90s? I think that's what they're concerned about.
There's probably going to be a great deal of debate when it came out today that the Space Administration would like something like, over the many, many years, $500 billion to go to Mars. And a lot of people are going to say, wouldn't that be better invested in other ventures?
Some will say that, but I think aerospace will up to some extent. Now, you're not. Some will say that, but I think that the redundant, the trickle-down impact of that on the science has helped a great deal.
Oh, no, not. We have to cut away. We're coming right back. Yeah. I wish we had more time. I'd like to do this again with you some night. If you'd like to come out here.
I'd be delighted.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your achievement.
Yeah, we're gonna stay in for a while. We're not leaving this week.
Great. I'm glad I got here before the curtain comes down.
Bob, you're going on tour starting?
Well, we've been on tour, and this weekend in Los Angeles at the Will Turn, and then Saturday, the benefit for David Ruffin on Saturday.
Thanks for dropping in tonight.
Thank you.
Tomorrow night, Stevie Wonder will be here, Wayne Cotter, and from Saturday Night Live, Victoria Jackson. See you then. I'm humbled by that applause.